Stadiums roar, chats explode. People jump off their couches as if the outcome of the match depends on their shout. Every second hits the nerves like they're on the field themselves. But there are also those for whom all of this is just background noise, with zero emotional response inside. And that's not random. Neuroscience shows that these people's brains process emotions and significance differently. Watch till the end and you'll start seeing sports fans in a new way. Here's what people usually miss. Being indifferent to sports isn't about having a boring personality or lacking passion. There's nothing wrong with you. Your brain just sets priorities differently and reacts to stimuli in its own way. And compared to those for whom sports are a huge emotional driver, that difference becomes very noticeable. The main question: why does it trigger such strong emotions in so many people? Humans have lived by the tribe principle since ancient times. Being among your own meant survival. Nothing has really changed today, just the form. A team becomes your people. During a game, the brain activates the same ancient mechanism. The sense of we strengthens. Oxytocin is released. And the connection feels almost like with close ones. You're no longer just watching, you're inside. Your tribe. Sounds wild, right? The brain literally blurs the boundary and makes you feel like those players are yours, part of your circle. But here's the key point. People who aren't into sports feel belonging differently. That ancient group mechanism is weaker for them. Their identity isn't tied to a team or symbols. They don't dissolve into we, they stay in a. And that's why a game is just a game for them, not a part of who they are. They think differently. I don't need to be part of something bigger to feel whole. And this isn't just a feeling, it's backed by data. Studies show that people with low interest in sports are less likely to engage in us versus them thinking. Simply put, that automatic division doesn't switch on. They don't feel negativity toward others just because they're on the opposite side. But it gets even more interesting. During a match, a fan's brain doesn't just react, it gets hooked into a loop. That feeling before surprise, the tense anticipation, that's dopamine. And in a game, it fires again and again. Moment, pause, chance, risk. Every episode is like a mini lottery. The brain catches that rhythm of something is about to happen and starts craving the next moment. At that point, you're not just watching, you're waiting for the next hit. It's no longer just interest, it's a closed loop of engagement. fMRI scans show that when someone watches their team, the same reward centers activate as in gambling systems. And the key isn't the game itself. The key is uncertainty. The brain doesn't know how it will end and gets stuck in anticipation mode. Every moment is a new attempt. Every second is a chance for a spike. And this unpredictability keeps feeding dopamine, not letting you switch off. This is called variable reinforcement, the most addictive reward pattern. The same principle behind slot machines. You don't know when you'll win, and that's exactly what keeps you in. And here's where it gets really interesting. The brain doesn't really care where the dopamine comes from, it tracks the cycle. Anticipation gives spike, gives calm, gives anticipation again. Each time it feels like just a little more and something will happen. This mechanism doesn't let you close the loop. It keeps you suspended and wanting more again and again. For those who aren't into sports, this mechanism simply doesn't activate. Someone else's competition doesn't become a reward source for their brain, and that's not random. There's evidence that sensitivity to this is partly biological, variations in dopamine receptor genes affect how strongly a person responds to observed competition. In simple terms, some brains read a game as rewarding, while others see it as neutral background. That's why some people get hooked on watching, while others genuinely don't understand the hype because their brain doesn't get the signal. This matters. Keep going. Think about it. You're calm. I don't care if the Lakers win might not be a stance, but a feature of how your brain is wired, partly rooted in biology. Where one brain lights up with this is important, another stays quiet. But there's another layer, and it's even more interesting. In psychology, it's called berg basking in reflected glory. When a team wins, a person says, "We won." When it loses, they lost. Hear the difference. That's not random wording. The brain literally claims the win, pulling the team into the sense of self. And in defeat, it distances to protect self-esteem. So the victory becomes personal, and the loss becomes someone else's fault. That's how the feeling forms. I'm part of this success. People who don't care about sports don't attach themselves to teams. Their sense of self doesn't change based on who won or lost, it stays stable. They don't need to connect to someone else's victory to feel valuable. Their self-worth depends less on things they don't control. And to be clear, this isn't about one way being better. The point is these differences are real, and once you understand them, a lot starts making sense. Here's a paradox. Sports fans often show a higher level of a certain type of empathy. They constantly train it by empathizing with players even if they're strangers in a jersey. So why don't those indifferent to sports feel the same toward athletes? It's not about lacking empathy, it's about where it's directed. Everyone has a limited resource for deep emotional engagement. If it doesn't go into sports, it flows into other areas, close relationships, social issues, creativity, or intellectual pursuits. Research shows that people indifferent to sports often have high openness to experience. They're more drawn to art, aesthetics, and new ideas. Their strongest emotions don't come from matches, but from music, visuals, nature, and deep thoughts. Basically, their brain is looking for the same things: meaning, pleasure, connection, and something beyond the ordinary. It just finds them in different spaces. If you look deeper, indifference to sports can have different roots. Sometimes it's past experience feeling like you didn't belong in sports culture. Sometimes it's a conscious choice not to engage in intense competition. And sometimes it's simple, it just doesn't interest you. The reasons vary, but the result is the same and completely normal. This is where the real line between fans and non-fans lies, in how a person creates meaning. For a fan, sport isn't just the score, it's a live story: tension, risk, comebacks, rivalry, where the outcome isn't clear until the last second. It's like a living drama you can step into emotionally. For someone else, the same scene looks different. They see randomness and ask a direct question: why should I care about something I don't influence and that doesn't affect my life? And that logic makes sense. There's no mistake on either side. Some find meaning in shared stories and emotions, others in things directly connected to their own lives. Some resonate with championships and matches, others with books, relationships, creativity, or ideas. It's the difference between parasocial involvement and direct participation. Fans build one-sided emotional connections with teams and players they feel, but don't influence. Those who don't relate to it often choose something else, investing in areas where there's feedback, where their actions actually make a difference. And again, there's no better option. Just different ways of experiencing life and finding meaning. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi showed something simple while studying flow. There are many paths to it. For some, it's sports. For others, completely different activities. And here's something especially interesting. People who aren't into sports often feel they're here and now more strongly. They don't spend hours watching someone else struggle. They live their own. There's a quiet but powerful stance in that. So what does this mean? If sports don't resonate with you, you're not missing anything. You're just wired differently. Your reward system, your sense of belonging, your way of empathizing, it all works by another logic. And that's normal. Next time someone asks, "Did you watch the game?" and you don't care, remember, you're fine. You're not out of the game, you're just playing a different one. And maybe the stakes in it are even higher. If this resonated, subscribe, like, and drop a comment with your thoughts.